Hello everyone, welcome to another RouterGods video. My name is Humphrey Chung. Now if you've been studying for CCNP switch or CCIE, you know that getting the switches for your practice lab can be an interesting affair. Some people use real switches, actually a lot of people use real switches, other people use rack rentals, and then a third type of people use a virtual lab for your routers, and then you bridge it out or you switch it out to regular switches, real switches. We call that a Frankenstein lab. Well, I'm going to show you a crazy idea that can get you your CCIE or CCNP switch with all virtual gear, and you don't lose too much in the translation. So you're going to be using 4 Arista switches for your core block here. I've got a topology up. So switch 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's all Arista gear. And we're going to put 3 Cisco routers that are running iOS V. So what we're going to do in this video, I'm going to explain the topology, the links. We're going to talk about the Cisco and Arista devices. We're going to talk about what you can actually practice with this topology. Then we'll actually set up the Cisco side, the 3 routers, and then the Arista side. So it's going to be a fairly long video. I'm going to guess around 15 minutes or so. So explain the topology. If you're looking at the links here, this diagram right here, 5150 topo-1, this is what you're going to end up with after everything is said and done, after you do everything inside of VMware. And maybe I should preface everything. I'm doing everything inside of VMware Workstation 10. If you've got VirtualBox, it will still work, I think. I've never tested it inside of VirtualBox, but the concepts are the same. You just have to change around some of the terminology. So in VMware, you call things segments, LAN segments. Inside of VirtualBox, I have no idea what they call it, but they have their own thing that is kind of like a LAN segment in VirtualBox. All right, so the links here, you can see that we've got links in between switch 1 and 2. We got 2 links here, Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2. Now that allows you to practice your Ether channels. We've got links between 1 and 4, this diagonal link, a diagonal link between 2 and 3, and then more links. So a lot of redundancy here for you to practice your spanning tree looping, seeing which switch is the root bridge, all that good stuff. Then what we have are the Cisco devices. This allows you to practice whether you can make a access VLAN correctly on switch 1, so you could put router 1 in VLAN 5 and router 2 in VLAN 5 and just see if you can ping across to each other. Something really, really simple. Then what you could do is you could put VLAN 5 for router 1 and 2, throw VLAN 5 on router 3, and see if you can get a correct trunk working between switch 1 and 2, stuff like that. You'll be able to practice stuff like VRRP. You'll be able to practice, you can't practice CDP, unfortunately, but you can do LLDP. And in a future video, I'll show you why you want to turn off Cisco CDP when you're working Arista switches, but that's for a later video. So Cisco devices, iOS V, Arista devices, VEOS. As far as amount of RAM you're going to need, you're going to probably want 8 gigs of RAM, kind of at the minimum for your actual device. And the reason for this is we're going to give the Cisco devices 512 megs each. So just for the 3 Cisco devices, we're talking about 1.5 gigs. And then for your Arista devices, you're going to want to give them about 1 gig each, so 1024 megs. If you can spare it, if you have a beefier machine, you can try giving them 2 gigs. That's if you're doing some complicated configuration. But I think for the most part, for most people, if you're just practicing basic switching kind of at the CCNP level, then 1 gig per switch should be just fine. All right, let's take a look at our second diagram, which is the VMware settings. In the first diagram is basically everything that you're going to end up with when you set up, after you set up VMware. So Ethernet 1 is going to be connected to this Ethernet interface, gig 00 or whatever. Inside here, this is everything you're going to throw inside VMware. And as you can see, all the routers are highlighted green just to make them stand out and to show you, remind you that it's Cisco. And all the switches are highlighted blue for Arista. Between all the links are segment labels. So between switch 1 and switch 2, you can see there's seg 1 and seg 2. That stands for LAN segment 1, LAN segment 2. down here between switch 1 and 4 is LAN segment 3. So we have up to, looks like 10 LAN segments, not too shabby, not too crazy of a topology. And we have everything, we have an ether channel here or multiple links here, and we have a diamond full mesh topology that you will see is very common inside of the CCIE lab. At the ends of the segments, you can see right here NA1 and NA7. So NA stands for network adapter, so VMware network adapter. So if it's network adapter 1, it's network adapter 1, NA1. NA2 stands for network adapter 2. So the way this works is inside of VMware, you're going to be setting up router 1. You go into the VMware settings, and you're just going to look up network adapter, and you're going to pull the drop down for LAN segment and pick LAN segment 5. It's that easy. Now the two toughest devices are going to be obviously switch 1 and switch 2, and the reason is just for the number of LAN segments. You've got 7 for switch 1, and you go all the way up to 6 on switch 2. All right, we're going to set up our 3 Cisco devices, and just like a previous video that I did on setting up a lab, we're going to create our first router, kind of get it pretty much done, and then we're going to clone it out into router 2 and router 3. So we're starting from the golden VMDK image that you're probably hiding out somewhere, probably on your NAS, Dropbox, wherever. I'm going to create a new virtual machine. Click Next, Next, Next. And when you get to Linux, doesn't really matter what Linux you have. I'm going to call this virtual machine IOSV-1. Processors, leave it the same. And for memory, we're going to give it 512 megs. Click on host-only networking. Next, next, next. And for under disk, you're going to create or use an existing virtual disk. We're going to browse to that VMDK file and open it up. And click next. Keep existing format, convert, doesn't really matter. And now we're going to customize the hardware. We're going to uncheck CD-ROM. For network adapter, we're going to select LAN segment. Router 1 is going to be on segment 5. USB, we're going to uncheck that. Sound card, we're going to uncheck. And printer, we're going to uncheck. Now we have to remember to add in our serial port. Add in the serial port and output to name pipe. And that default name is cool with me. We're going to copy that to our notepad or clipboard because we're going to need it later. Now you notice here on my particular screen, it comes up with serial port 2, which is bad. It probably won't work when I putty into it because you want this to be on the regular serial port. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this and click close. Now I have a separate video out there that will show you how to fix this problem. But in this video, I'm going to just do it really quick. Click Finish. All right, there's our IOSV-1. I'm going to close that out, make sure VMware isn't locking any files. I'm going to just go to the particular folder where IOSV-1 is stored, double click, and this VMX file, it's a text file I'm going to edit with Notepad++. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here until I get to serial 0. I'm going to nuke all the lines for serial 0. Hit delete and just make sure there's nothing else in there. That should be okay. I'm going to save the file and exit out of Notepad++. Double click on the .vmx file. I'm going to add in the serial port again, and hopefully this time it will come up as serial 1. Click next, output to name pipe. COM1 is fine, and finish. And look at that serial port. You can think of that as serial port 1. It's the first one. That's good. And click OK. I think that's good for this guy. Now I'm going to clone this out. So manage, clone. I'm going to do it 2 times. Current state, full clone. I'm going to call this number 2. And clone it out another time. Full clone again. This guy's number 3. And we just have to make sure we change that name pipe to the appropriate number. So 1's going to become a 2. And then on iOS COM3, that guy is going to become COM3. And also, almost forgot, if we look back at this diagram, you'll see that router 2, network adapter 1 is going to be segment 6. So we're going to change it, network adapter LAN segment 6. And over here for iOS V-3, that LAN segment, if we look over here, network adapter 1 segment 7. So click on that, segment 7, click OK. Moment of truth, we're going to fire up everything on the Cisco side. You kind of want to do this just to validate. You don't want to start or set up all 7 devices, fire up everything at once just to discover nothing works. Really complicates troubleshooting, makes everything a nightmare. So we'll make sure that we have our Cisco side in order before we continue on to Arista. So everything's booting up. Now we're going to Super PuTTY or PuTTY. Make sure you have your PuTTY sessions set up. If you don't know how to do that, I did that in a previous video, but just make sure that your settings have the appropriate pipe COM_1 in there. It's set to serial. Double click on R1, R2, and R3. Cross our fingers and hope that everything comes up. All right, we're starting to get our router prompts. No to initial configuration. Router 1's up, router 2 is up, and router 3 is up. Awesome. So the Cisco side is running. Our 3 routers are good. Now we're going to go over and set up our Arista switches. We're going to get our first Arista switch configured as complete as we can get it, and then we're going to clone it out 3 times to get 4 switches. Then we're going to go back into the VMware settings and customize everything for the particular links. Now I'm just going to do switch 1 and 2, and the reason is I want to keep this video somewhat short, but after you configure switch 1, or after you watch me configure switches 1 and 2, you can just extrapolate the steps for switch 3 and 4. All right, let's go back to VMware Workstation. We're going to create a new virtual machine. Click Next, Next, Next. Linux Fedora 64-bit, very important. Make sure it's on Fedora 64-bit. We're going to call this Arista SW1. You can call it SW1, you could call it Arista1, whatever you want. Click Next, Processors Next. 1024 megs is just fine. And for this, we're going to change everything afterwards anyways for network connection. So you could just click Next, SCSI Next, and virtual disk type IDE. And we have the existing virtual disk. And we're going to find our Arista golden image VEOS VMDK file. Click Open and Next. We're going to keep existing format and then customize the hardware. And for the CD-ROM, we're going to use the aboot.iso image, browse to that. And then we're going to click on Advanced to change it to IDE 01. For USB controller, we're going to uncheck that, uncheck the sound card, and uncheck the printer. Looking at the diagram, we've got 7 network adapters, so we're going to add in a whole bunch more. And it doesn't really matter what you pick here, just leave it on that, save yourself some time. And the reason is we're going to come back later to customize it anyways. So no use in picking at this menu. Network adapter, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 2 more to go. And the final network adapter. All right. So after that, we're going to click Close and Finish. We have to go back in here, go to Hardware Disk or Hard Drive, Hard Disk. Click on Advanced, and remember to have it on IDE 00. So here it already took it. That's good. Just make sure that it is that way. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to customize this guy following the diagram. Network adapter 1 gets thrown in a jail LAN segment. So I'm going to pick my last one, LAN segment 11. Click on network adapter 2, looking at the diagram. Network adapter 2 is LAN segment 1. Network adapter 3 is LAN segment 2. Yes, this may seem like a pain in the ass, but you only have to do it once, so it's not too bad. Network adapter 4 is LAN segment 3. Network adapter 5 is LAN segment 4. And you get the picture. That's going to be 5. And 7 is going to be 6. Whoa, that's a lot of work. All right. So we got switch 1 done. We're going to clone this out a whole bunch of times. So manage, clone, next. Create a full clone. Call it switch 2. And finish up. I'm going to pause the video while I clone out switch 3 and 4. All right, we have our 4 switches all cloned out. We've already customized switch 1. We're going to go to switch 2, click on any of the network adapters, and let's see here. Our first network adapter is already on our jail LAN segment, so that's fine. Network adapter 2 is LAN segment 1. Hey, that matches up. That's good. 3 is going to be 2. That matches up. That's good. 4 is going to be LAN segment 10. We need to change it to 10. Network adapter 5 is LAN segment 8. Network adapter 6 is LAN segment 7. And we don't have a network adapter 7 for switch 2, so if you want, you can just remove it. And click OK. Switch 3 is going to seem really easy. We just click on any of the settings. Let's take a look here. We got network adapter 1 is our LAN segment 11. That's our jail one. Network adapter 2 is LAN segment 9. Network adapter 3, LAN segment 4. Network adapter 4 is LAN segment 10. And we don't have any more, so we could kill 5, 6, and 7. Now remember I said I wasn't going to do switch 3 or 4, but I might as well because it's short. And click OK. Now we come back to switch 4. Click on any of these to edit the settings. And let's get rid of the extra ones first. So everything past 4 we could kill. So 5, 6, and 7. We already know network adapter 1 is going to be on 11, so that's cool. Network adapter 2 is going to be number 9. 3 is going to be 8. And 4 is going to be 3. And that matches up, so that's great. All right, moment of truth. We're going to hit play on all of these. So I already have my 3 Cisco routers up. My Arista switches will be coming up. Kind of scary. I usually don't do these videos or practice these videos for the camera. I do it all in one shot, so we really don't know what's going to happen. It could completely bomb out, but it looks good. Everything's coming up okay. Let's take a look at my task manager. Oh yeah, look at that. Task manager is getting rocked pretty good. Okay, all of my switches have come up. You can see the task manager is back down to 2%, 1%. That's pretty good for 4 switches and 3 routers running. Now, this -2 topology, this PDF with the VMware settings, everything's up, so we could just we could close that if you want. And I'm going to open up the PDF that has our final configuration. That's our -1 topology. And let's see if it really matches the diagram. Let's go to switch 1. We're going to log in as admin. And let's see. Show LLDP neighbors. I think my interfaces might be down. What? Okay, let's see what we got here. We have got Ethernet 1 goes to Ethernet 1 on the neighbor. Oh, we haven't labeled our switches, so this is going to look kind of confusing. So hostname switch 1. Go over here, log in as admin, hostname switch 2, hostname switch 3, and finally on switch 4, hostname switch 4. All right, now we go back to switch 1 and we'll do show LLDP neighbors. And let's see what we got. We got Ethernet 1 is connected to switch 2, Ethernet 1. That looks pretty good. Ethernet 2 connected to Ethernet 2 or switch 2. That's great. Ethernet 3 is connected to switch 4 down here. That's awesome. And it's connected to Ethernet 3 on switch 4. So that's good. And Ethernet 4 is connected to switch 3. So everything looks pretty good. The management interfaces, everything's going to be seen because they're on the same interface VLAN, on the same LAN segment. That's fine. We're not even going to bother with those. Let's see if we can see the Cisco devices. Let's go to router 1 and 2. So hostname R1, interface gig 00, and we'll just no shut that guy. And on Cisco, of course, it's going to be CDP. Here what we're going to do is, I believe it's LLDP. Yeah, there we go. LLDP run. Had to think about that for a second. Go to router 2. Kind of the same deal. I'm just going to do router 2. We're not going to do router 3. So HOR2, LLDP run, and interface gig 00, no shut. All right, moment of truth. Show LLDP neighbors. And I think we're good. Ethernet 5 on our topology here. Topology 1, Ethernet 5 connected to gig 00 of router 1. Ethernet 6 connected to R2, gig 00. Hey, everything looks good. Well, we might as well do router 3. Why not? Let's do router 3. It's always tough switching between Dvorak and QWERTY. Okay, hostname R3, interface gig 00, no shut, exit LLDP run. All right, let's go to switch 2, show LLDP neighbors. And there you go. I can see router 3. He's coming off of Ethernet 5 up here in the corner, and it's going to gig 00. There you have it, folks. 4 switches in the center, fully meshed. Got another link for Ether channel. We got 3 Cisco routers, IOSV. You're ready to rock and roll and do about 80, maybe 90% of what you can do for CCNP switch. And you could do this topology to help you study for CCIE routing and switching. Now, of course, in most topologies, you're going to have extra routers and stuff, but take my topology. You can use my topology, use this setup, add routers, emulate everything you see in the workbooks out there, and just have fun. Now, for all you DevOps guys who are probably laughing at me going, man, you could have automated all of this setup. And it's true. You can use Packer. You can use, what's that other one? Puppet, Chef, all those different tools to automate this. And I think that may be one of my next videos. Hopefully in the future, I'll have some type of GUI. You just click a button and it'll just fire all this up for you. But until then, this is how you do it inside a VMware workstation. My name's Humphrey Chung from RouterGods. Thanks for watching.